Yeah, good morning, guys. Thanks for joining the Sunday morning, and it's 9 o'clock in India. I think it's above 8:30 in Canada. I think, and for
Correct.
others, I don't know. Thanks for joining from different timelines. So for our fourth chat, I would like to introduce Matt. Uh, he's a mentor who's having 15 years of experience in the UX field. He's over 15. He has over 15 years of experience in the field, and uh, he's been uh, uh, he's been with us for some time. I think more than 6 months. He's been with us, I think. So he knows us. At the same time, he is very kind to have us. I'm very thankful for this. I'm very grateful for having Matt in this uh, chat, and he worked in Best Buy. He worked in Hitachi Energy as a global user experience director, and he's the founder of UX Was Here, and he's a chair volunteer experience. He has a, I mean, he's a chair member in UXPA, and he's a great mentor in ADP list, and he's currently working with Omnia Consulting. So he has a vast experience in the field, and I'm glad to have you, Matt. And your experience will really help us to grow and learn. And yeah, let's get started. I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Sure thing. Yeah. Go ahead. And thanks for having me, guys. And thank you so much, everyone, for waking up early on a Sunday morning. I know in India we move fast, but still Sunday is the one day that we can sleep in. So I appreciate everyone is here. So hopefully, this will be helpful for everyone as well. Go ahead, Kalyan.
Yeah.
Whatever you need help with. Yeah.
So yeah, Matt, your journey in UX design spans over 2 decades, right? So as a web designer, you started as a web designer, right? In 1998, I think so. So
That's yeah.
what initially sparked your passion for UX, and how did those early experiences shape your design philosophy? Like,
Yeah.
how did it happen?
So it's funny that you mentioned the 1998. That's actually when the internet was actually just blooming, and it makes me sound like a dinosaur. But my brother actually had a website called Hardware Master, and I'm originally from Turkey, and he was just building his website as well as testing some hardware products. That's why he had the domain name called Hardware Master, and he was actually quite popular from the global sense of it. People were actually sending like Nvidia cards, etc., to him. So I started with something very small. I was like creating icons for his website at the time, with whatever access I have to the computer, which you need to go to the university to access the computer. We didn't have the laptops or even a computer in the house, right? So that's kind of like how it started. But if you find that information, that's probably somewhere in LinkedIn, so I might want to remove that one. But that said, from the UX perspective, my I actually never know that what I was doing was user experience. Frankly speaking, I recently had a chat with the ADP list regarding this as well. I thought that there was actually something fundamentally wrong with my brain, that whenever I walk into any room, I felt like I am just constantly looking for a problem, and I complain about stuff that like this should have been done this way. Why is not this one is that way? And I did not know what the heck that meant for me. So I was absolutely lost, and it was not pleasant, frankly speaking, because like who wants to hang out with someone whenever you're going somewhere, like someone is, rather than just saying, oh, what a beautiful cafe, the first thing that I see is, okay, that light is so low in there. This one is not working in here. There should be a hook underneath the table so the ladies can hook their bag. Like, so my mind is like going on that direction rather than enjoying the moment, and etc. And then when I was taking my studies in university for engineering science, I really had challenges because working through the computer and not being able to communicate with people was not making me so much happy. So I was constantly looking for what would it be, different alternatives that I can take while I'm learning the technology. And then one thing led to another after many bugging to the advisor about, what is out there available. He recommended me to, take some design courses. I took some design courses. And then I had my first internship actually in SAP India. And since then, my life changed. That was called user experience design. When I was reading the bullet points of job description, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is exactly what I need to be like this. I'm not crazy. I'm not like, a mad person. And then I said like, this is amazing. I want to, see how it will go. So that's how my journey started.
That is very interesting. You've seen the industry from the start, and you
Mhm.
are actually in the industry right now, and it's currently going in a different, very different way, and you are actually in it. You are in the path. So that is very awesome. And on that, I would also want to ask some question
So
on that topic.
mhm.
Tell me, what do you think about new age design? Since you are here from the start, how design transition from the transition in the early days to now, right? So how it was then, and how it has changed right now.
I think there, frankly speaking, I don't think that there was even the UX design. Even 2008, seeing in India, like posting a job like SAP user experience was something interesting to me because I didn't even see that kind of stuff in Canada side as well. It was mainly people were looking for graphic designers, and somehow that graphic designer, as they will call it, GUI, graphic user interface, or uh, those type of terminologies that was used. And so initially I think people who had visual skills were the ones that was started the UX, lack of a better word. And then I think slowly, as the maturity start happening on the domain itself, then we start realizing that okay, that's actually not UX, that's actually graphic design. and
Mhm.
then and then we start even breaking that one down as well, like that's graphic design and this is now visual design. And then while that was happening on its own side, then we had this UX side, and it was just one UX, and then became UX design and then UX research. And now we reached to a level that we are even having UX content writers
Mm.
that specifically helps out with the language barriers that we have with the users, right? So we even like specialize in the content section of it as well. And then before we know each other, it's just that's kind of like the how it evolved at the moment. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a big turn, right?
yeah,
First, it starts
absolutely
from GUI to where we are right now.
correct.
It's
Yeah,
becoming.
absolutely. And we start realizing the difference between how something is pretty does not mean that it's useful, right? And then
Mhm.
that's what actually people start recognizing it. Okay, then this is going to be user experience. So
Mhm.
how is the user experiencing this specific product? And I think
Mhm.
one of the things that people are missing is exactly what we're talking about as user experience. It's the
Mhm.
interface that you're actually interacting. What gives you that experience is called the user experience itself, right? So,
Mhm.
and
That is
every
only after when Don Norman came to the industry, right?
so,
Before him, I don't know how it was for you.
sorry,
He's there
yeah,
for some time. Sorry.
uh, sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of the question.
I mean, it's just after John Diamond came to the industry, right? So when he came, everything just changed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's always something with the media or technology, right? Like something comes up, and then that article picks up, and then someone is actually going through that article, then it becomes viral, then people start focusing on it, and it moves on. Like I say this to many of my clients as well. Like if I'm actually looking for a job in Canada, I will be putting I would put pretty much my resume UX designer is what I would say. Product designer is also acceptable as well. But for whatever the reason, if you're in UK, even though you're a product designer or a UX designer, it might be much beneficial for you to put service designer.
Mhm.
It's just like these different roles has somewhat different sections as well, but um it's not fully like, from my perspective, I think everything is under this UX kind of encapsulates it. whether it's a service design, product design, whatever you wanted to call it. It's like the way that, how I would define, like, as I said, UX design is, where you're looking at the interface and how that experience is for the user. From the product design perspective, you're doing the same thing for the product itself, but maybe you are heavily oriented on the product side, like almost like product owner in the Scrum terminology perspective, right? Where you need to be in charge of the backlog, maybe a little bit, understand the product much better than what you would be looking from the UX perspective of it. So,
Yes.
but overall, everything is kind of like encapsulating each other, like kind of like over on top of each other, whatever you want to call it. So when someone is telling a title, like even if you would tell me that hey, I'm a UX designer, man, I will say like, what do you do? And then I will want to hear that one. And most of the time, mark my words, you will be talking about visual design, you'll be talking about UX research, etc. You're actually doing everything. So you
Yes.
are a UX designer, but you are generalist, right? So you're actually doing everything. So you're a perfect asset for a startup kind of an environment, or an agency, I would say. So, but anyway, I don't want to sidetrack, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions to ask.
Yeah, that makes me come to a question. We exactly arrived at the question that I have. So, since you have a lot of experience across the diverse industries like energy, retail, the automotive industry, and you worked in Best Buy and you worked in Auto Trader, right?
So,
So, you have a lot of experience across the industries.
mhm.
So, how your UX strategy? How do you adapt your strategies to fit such diverse sectors? So, and what challenges you have encountered, and how did you overcome them?
So that's a great question, because I have this personality where I would like to experience different industries, because I believe that just like how I'm interacting with different people, and this is one of the reasons why I love Vancouver, because it's very multicultural. But this is
Mhm.
also another reason why uh, I love the fact that I had an experience living in India as well. When
Mhm.
you are experiencing different cultures, you learn quite a lot from each culture, and then you can actually implement those things. And sometimes you can even I guess the word is alchemy, like you can alchemize, like
Yes.
merge them together, metal together, etc., to understand the concept of it, and then create maybe something new right at the end of it. So when I was working on any of the corporate company, one of my main goal was to experience as much as possible different industries, experiences, whatever you want to call it. So I started as a contractor initially, and I was heavily involved on the food industry, and then this dishes, DoorDash, etc. came in, and then kind of took over all of that e-commerce content management system kind of websites that we were building for the restaurants.
Mhm.
And I moved on to like company like an auto trader, where I had no interest whatsoever for cars. Even though it's a common fact that men love car and all that kind of stuff, I had no idea what car is what, like how much the engine power and all that kind of stuff. And so when I get into that job, for instance, I was I was afraid of not excuse me, I would feel that I would not be enough, but that never stopped me taking the action. And as a matter of fact, in life, thanks to again having that India experience as well, I've
Mhm.
learned so much from my experience itself that nothing, I will never let myself to stop with something that will scare me or put me into uncomfortable zone. Those are
Mhm.
actually great indication that you're trying something new. Because if you're
Yes.
constantly in the calm mode, then you're not learning anything new. You are in your familiar stage. Everything is cool. There's nothing to be worried about. All that kind of stuff, right? So
Yes.
I'm a I'm an addict for a change, frankly speaking. So I love changing and seeing whether this will work, whether this will work. And if you think about it from UX perspective, this is like a multivariant testing, right? So you keep trying it. So when I take the, for instance, auto trader job, even though I had those doubts in me, I still go for it anyway. And then before you know it, I started with something small, right? Like, okay, there is something called make, like
Mhm.
BMW, and there's something called model, that's called
Mhm.
X5, and then
Mhm.
something called trim. I have no idea what the heck is that one, right? So I start learning each terminology and then try to make myself familiar with it. And before I know it, that's kind of like what I have adapted. And then when I move on to like a place like Best Buy, it's an e-commerce, so it will be different. But the thing,
Yes.
we are doing the same things, lack of a better word, right? So we were selling cars or helping dealers sell cars in Auto Trader, but in Best Buy now we're selling products. And then as I was going into the Best Buy part of it, we were still doing the A/B testing. We are still doing the research. We are still doing the design. So everything is still overlapping quite drastically. The
Okay.
only difference, as a matter of fact, why I made the changes, I wanted to just work for a bigger company with much more data from the e-commerce perspective. Auto Trader has a massive data as well. They had, I think, at the time, 95 or 98% of all the dealers in Canada. That was just mind blowing. Now, of course, the market is saturated with different competitors. But and then when you move on to Best Buy, there was a lot of data, and that's actually what made me want to stay with them. And I have reasons for each company when I moved from one to another. If you're interested, I'm happy to share. But I wanted to cut it short, so I don't want to take too much time with one question.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that is, I wanted to have more idea in this perspective. So so you can take your time.
Oh,
So
okay.
like what I actually wanted to know is, you also worked in UKG, right? So
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, on that note, UKG is actually a design, what do you call it? It's a design agency, right?
No, UKG is it's an ultimate software and Kronos HR software come together, and then they become Ultimate Kronos Group. So it's a
Okay.
HR software company.
Yeah, so it is also from it's also from a different perspective. When you look at it, it is
Mm-hmm.
actually a kind of a SaaS or a product kind of a company.
Mm-hmm.
uh, when you compare it to Best Buy and other companies, and like, compare companies with Hitachi. So
Mm-hmm.
Hitachi is actually an energy company. So it's a quite different industry. When you
Well,
jump from Best Buy to Hitachi, UKG, and to other companies, it's quite vast. So on that perspective, it's quite
mm-hmm.
this is actually a current problem for designers. Let's say they are jumping from
Mm-hmm.
a software industry to a car company like Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercedes is hiring in
Yeah.
India. At the same time, Google is also hiring.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they are jumping from
Yes.
a software company to a car company. So
Mm-hmm.
what they need to have. So we would like to know from your story. Uh, do you
Mm-hmm.
have did you face any challenges? What is the difference between these industries when you are a UX designer? So that kind of a thing.
Frankly speaking, it's um, so as a hiring manager myself as well, when I'm thinking from the hiring manager perspective,
Mm,
what kind of an individual I will want and
mm,
how that will be, what kind of a candidate I'm looking is what I would be asking myself. So of course I
mm,
would like to have someone who has the domain experience on that specific thing that I'm hiring. If it's a Mercedes Benz, or the Google or whatever the case it is. The
mm,
the main part is I generally look for people who are go-getter, and
mm,
they don't say no as an answer. And then the other thing is, as I mentioned, they're open for change. They're agile. They're
mm,
they won't get easily irritated, etc., like that. So when
mm,
you actually hire someone from the personality perspective, you will always succeed. It doesn't matter if they don't have the expertise on the whatever you're looking for. Uh,
mm,
Something that I learned when I was in Ultimate Software, the
mm,
chief people officer was in our onboarding, and she made a beautiful what do you call that one? She made a beautiful, welcome message, and
mm,
mentioned that one as well. That, do you know why we hire you guys? And then we are like, because of our skills and all that kind of stuff. And she said, like, no, it's just your personality, because you
mm,
have everything that we are looking for. You are right person for our culture, and
mm,
because you are the right person for that culture, we know that the culture that we have is adaptable, And so we know that you can always learn anything in here, and we will be more than happy to empower you. And that
That is.
really opened my eyes, because
Mm.
even if you go to Mercedes-Benz, Google, UKG, Alta, Hitachi, or wherever you wanted to go, you may not know the domain, but this won't stop you. It's
Mm.
going to be only making things a little bit tougher because you don't have
Mm.
around. But as long
Mhm.
as you put the effort, and
Yes.
again, living in India, I know how hardworking you guys are. So I don't even see, like, if I would have hired someone in India with a like a with a snap of a finger, right? Because as long as I know that person's, like, of course, personality is matching, etc., then I will do this. I will do the same thing, and that's what I'm looking for when I'm actually hiring
Mhm.
someone. So going back to it, as weird as it sounds, it's actually irrelevant what background that we have, as long
Mm.
as you have the right personality. And I think this is most of the things that's been missed by the hiring managers or
Yes. Yes.
people who are actually doing the hiring. They are absolutely focused on that visual design of that portfolio.
Mm.
They're focused on how you present it yourself. Of course, that's important. Don't get me wrong, and
Mm.
then etc., right? But at the end, can this person still deliver what we're asking for, if we have provided all the right conditions? And the answer is yes. Then it's yes, so hire that person. So they may not know the domain, but they can bring a different domain mindset to this company, and maybe he or she would be conquering something different, right, in the company. You never know.
So yeah, that helps. That would help me to get into the another question. I've added another question. Oh,
Hmm.
on that note. So grab your popcorn, leaders and seniors. So I have a question for Matt, which will help you. So
Yeah.
when you are a leader at a company like Hitachi,
Hmm.
stakes are pretty high, right? So like you, whatever change that you make will impact it globally. So it will, the impact will be on a global scale, right? So
Correct.
can you share a memorable story where your leadership created such impact? Because it's quite rare to see people who done such impact at a global scale.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of seniors who wanted to, let's say, I'm a senior designer who are transitioning from senior role to lead role, or a role which will impact large amount of users. So
Hmm.
whatever change I make, that I have a responsibility to make a change, and that change will affect globally.
Yes.
So when you are a leader at a top company like that, so the responsibility that you have is pretty high. So can you share a memorable story uh, around that?
Correct. Yeah. So if I hear you correctly, what you're asking is, when you come to a certain level of expertise or certain level upper level, whatever you want to call it,
Yes.
you have much more influence on how things are happening. And you're
Yes.
asking me what is my memorable experience on that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So first of all, I wanted to tell that anyone who is junior, just starting, considering to start UX, everyone has an effect on companies' future, whether it's small or a big one. Everyone has a say on that one. Depending on of the, again, company culture, how much that will be heard by the rest of the team is a question. Okay,
Mm.
so let's put that one on the side. Even though the company may not be suitable to hear what the users are saying to it,
Mm.
this should never stop you to speak up and then
Mm.
still be who you are. So
Mm.
always be authentic to yourself. If you're still thinking that the design should be changed, you still
Mhm.
need to speak it up. If they're not taking the action and if they're keeping it same, then that's fine as well. As a matter of fact, that's something that how I experienced with SAP when I first started my journey. And that
Mm.
was one of the main reasons why I wanted to open up my own agency, because
Mm.
I said, if my customers are paying me, they
Mm.
deserve to get the best UX. But in the
Mm.
SAP's mindset, um, if I would change that interface, I'm going to be affecting 1 million, users or customers, and I need to train all of my employees, and I need to train all of my clients as well. And then so I'm losing money now, and it's too much change. But that was not acceptable for me. And again, I'm thinking from one individual mindset, right, instead of thinking multi-global corporate kind of mindset. So as you grow in the industry and then climbing up the ladder, whatever you want to call it, what you start realizing is you are getting very tangled with that business goals and what business goals mean and how important it is and how you need to align that one with your UX design or research, etc. So going back to your question, my memorable moment, I would say that with the Hitachi, especially because it was a global team, was trying to implement the culture. Sadly, the teams, not UX team, the teams like the product with the UX engineers, UX QA, UX, etc. They were actually split or kind of like siloed on their own. And if anything happened, it would have been causing like, well, UX should have done this one, or product didn't write the requirements, like stuff like that was happening. So one of the things that I have done was to implement the culture that I have learned from Ultimate Software. And that was one of the main things that I wanted to implement. So, and then I implemented something called One as a culture. One is we are one. So there is no like, Poland team, India team, and, North American team or anything like that. We are one UX team. And then the N is the nimble. We are nimble, aka we are agile. So we can actually adapt to change no matter what happens, and it's okay. And then the last one is E, which is empowered. We are going to not only empower ourselves with our own thinking, but we're going to also empower each other with what we are trying to challenge and improve within ourselves, right? Whether it's a skill or anything else that we are facing at the time as well. So I would say that was, I think, one of my most memorable moments. So we set up, like I look at every time zone, where are we overlapping, which parts could be booked, which parts should be asking for permission to be booked, and parts are no zones, right? Like so that no one works in the middle of the night or very early in the morning, like 5 a.m. or something. I was exceptional. That's fine as a leader of overseeing the team, but I don't expect that one from my team members anyway. And so those kind of stuff was I think my memorable moments, because I never had that experience one-on-one truly from my past experiences with my managers, and I wanted to be sure that that my colleagues were actually experiencing something like that.
That is pretty awesome that you have a framework for how teams work.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Someone raised their hand. I was going to ask you, is it going to be like you and me questioning, or are we taking questions, or are we going to take the questions?
Yeah, we are at the end of the chat. We'll be having questions. So, so I would like to go through the first set of questions that we have. At the end of the chat, if audience have questions, they can ask. They'll have their separate time.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, however you run. Yeah.
Yeah, and that arrives us to a next question. So if you're a design manager or a head in a team, so what are the key qualities that you look for that you look in a person when you are building a high performing team? You need you're actually building a team, and I'm asking right now. Yeah.
If I was right now building a team, and you're asking me what I would look into a team member if I'm hiring those individuals, I think I mentioned that one already, but to emphasize it further.
Yeah, we would like to deep dive on that.
No, absolutely. I will definitely look for someone who's respectful for individuals around them. So I need them to respect their culture, their identity, their thoughts, beliefs, whatever you want to call it. And this is a very key point, because it comes out like something small, or we kind of like take it granted, like respect. Yeah, of course I respect the Kalyan in here and all that kind of stuff. You actually don't. You are actually judging him that he is doing this and that and whatever that this and that means, right? So when you do have that type of thing going on and you're not respecting one another, it's going to be very challenging to see this individual collaborating with one another as well, because you can still you can still respect someone's opinion but disagree with it still. And that's the key point in here that I'm trying to make. But if you're disrespectful, you're never even able to hear that opinion in the first place. So how could you even move forward with an individual as a team member to work and function properly within that team itself, right? So that will be one of the things that I will be looking for. So respect will be one of them. As I mentioned on the one culture, I'm looking for someone, who is accepting. And when I'm saying accepting, like again, in the same sense of it as well, it goes back to the respect part of it a little bit, but exactly touching what I just mentioned, you try to understand where the other person is coming from. So when I say accepting, you can use it as an empathy as well to understand one another. But mainly, not be judgmental, come with an empty cup when you're asking question. So instead of saying, hey, this is the way that you need to do it, what are you thinking about this one, right? And then the person explains it. Were you even able to hear that person? Even if you notice it when we are having these conversations, I'm kind of like paraphrasing what you're saying to me, and I wanted to be sure that I understand you clearly, right?
Yes.
The thing that we wanted to do as a team member when we're working with one another, it's so easy to misunderstand someone. So we need to be accepting, open-minded, having that empathy and all that kind of stuff. And I think the last piece is, like as we talk agile, the being in agile, or like the person who can adapt to change. Adapting change is very interesting. I was looking for some article regarding that. What's kind of causing us, not to be able to adapt to change is it's actually because we are so efficient, which is so crazy. When you think about it, we are so efficient that we wanted to do things in a certain way that you're not looking for anything to change it because it's already efficient, right? Like when you're looking for say a toothbrush or toothpaste or whatever it is, uh, you're not thinking about this one. This is actually a process that you kind of do and go ahead and then use it. I was just wondering something about that one. But if you are looking to like path of least resistance, like shortcuts will not lead to change, right? So we need to be open to change. So I'm looking for someone who's adaptable, who can actually open to change, if that makes sense.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that brings us to our another question.
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk about your mentoring. So let's deep dive into that.
Yeah.
Your commitment in mentorship through platforms like ADP List, UXP, it's quite outstanding actually.
Thank you.
So you are I can see you in LinkedIn. I can, wherever I go, where I can see mentors, you are there. And you are a super mentor this month, right? In ADP.
That someone actually mentioned that one. I never read that writing in that piece, but yeah, it was called Super Mentor. So it's funny.
Congratulations on that. And it's been quite outstanding to see your mentorship path. So what drives your passion for coaching, and how do you tailor your approach and to support designers and a lot of people in this different career stages? So since you start with designers from the start, and people like me, and people like experienced designers, the experienced people, and what drives you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the main thing that drives me is the curiosity of seeing the other person's mindset of how much they wanted to actually accomplish their jobs or their goals in their life. Does that make sense? So I'm curious to know how much you're interested to reach the goal that you have in mind, because everyone is different. See, when I'm asking someone that, like, who's looking for a job, and I know that this person is been looking for a job for the last 6 months and absolutely been drained and having hard time finding that job. I wanted to know how badly you wanted to get that job. And that's the part that makes the difference between this person and that person and that person and that person. And so when it comes to mentoring or coaching, one of the things that I look for within the people is the commitment. So I want to see how committed they are to their goals, and so I would like to support them as well. I'm also looking for people with who's coming in with empty cup, lack of a better word, uh, so that they can take in what I'm sharing. It's not that I know everything. It's not that I have all the answers to everything that they're asking, but I damn know that sure that I will find what they're looking for, and I'm going to bring in the answer. So I will think about this way. And every time when I'm interacting with any leader, like a or a mentee, in a junior level, not a leader maybe, but a senior, like intermediate, whatever you want to call them, they all go through different experiences. So one of them is like doing a conflict resolution with their manager. The other one is looking for a job. The other one is trying to get into the promotion. The other one is trying to do salary negotiations, etc., etc. Right? So everyone actually has their different problem going on. But I want to know how committed you are to reach those goals. That's number one. And the second thing is how much you want to learn about this. Like, do you want it to be the master of salary negotiations? So that, whatever you're learning from me is not just that piece in your lifespan, but maybe next time when it comes to it, you will be able to actually run with it. When you're going to have your interview, can you do that one as well on the phone by asking without any hesitation, what is the base salary and how much is the bonus and etc. like that, right? Can you speak money, right? Can you speak um, what you are good at if you wanted to get a promotion, right? And saying that this is what I deliver to the team. This is how we have improved X from Y and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm looking for someone who's hungry to learn and really hungry to reach that goal as well. So that's actually mainly what makes me lead to connect with people, because I'm curious. Every human being is different. Everyone actually has a different mindset. There are people reaching out to me. I have a intake survey or I take any of the mentors, and then I say how committed you are to reaching your goal. There are individuals who write 6 out of 10 who would actually have a long-term coaching with me, and there are individuals who says 10 out of 10 but not interested to move forward with it because whether the excuse is the time or the money or whatever you wanted to call it. So very interesting to see people's approach to things, and then try to make sense of it, and then see which ones I can help. And then over the years what started happening with me is I said, okay, I don't have so many hours in a day. Just like everyone else, I have 24 hours. And if I'm putting, let's say, 8 to 10 hours in my work, or let's say in certain days I even push it 12 hours as well, I cannot still fit in everyone in here. Then I start becoming now picky about that one and seeing who are really committed and who are going to give their 100%, so that I can give 200%, be the example, and then they follow me. And if they follow me 200%, mark my words, we're definitely going to progress. I'm not still promising anything that I can make them reach this or that, but we're definitely going to progress towards that, and ultimately we are going to reach that part as well. And I think that's what's making me very excited about like coaching, mentoring.
That is what drives clan too. We look for people who are 100% committed.
Yeah, perfect.
So I've seen you supporting a lot of people. You've been so kind with people, and I've saw you going above and beyond to help people in LinkedIn, and I know personally. So we have a lot of stories when it comes to helping people. So let's say you are going to I'm going to start mentoring. What advice do you have for me as a senior mentor yes, as you are a senior mentor, right? So as a
Mhm.
senior mentor, what advice do you have for me? So let's say I'm a new I'm a budding mentor.
Yeah. I've learned something from my own coach. And by the way, just because I'm doing coaching and mentoring, it doesn't mean that I don't have my own coach or mentor anymore. I have a lifetime coach that I pay for, and then I go and then learn from that individual as well. But just like my jobs, I tend to change my coaches to see different perspective and learn different things as well. I'm going to answer your question, but I wanted to give you a brief example about that one as well.
Please,
So
please.
what would happen is in your life, you will be working with different mentors, and you will become a different mentor yourself as well. There was an article I was reading. This startup company did an amazing job. They like skyrocket their first revenue and all that kind of stuff, and then they had this exponential growth actually. And then I read literally a week later or so, they say that they let go of the CEO. And I'm like, what? Like, am I reading this? Or like, I even checked whether that was actually reliable or not. And then one thing led to another. And this was, before AI time. So I wasn't able to search and check, what was going on and whatnot. There was actually someone write an article about that one. And they were
Mhm,
mentioning that CEO
mhm,
as being let go because he served his purpose. He taught whatever he could at that
mhm,
time in the startup for
mhm,
it to take off. But
mhm,
this is a different level game now. Now it's take
mhm,
off. How can you scale it up, right? So
mhm,
that's what they were looking for. So it was not burning the bridges. It was not like, like, okay, now that you reach us there and then we are done with you and all that kind of stuff, and they move on. That really opened my eyes in a multiple levels. So I love learning these kind of stuff because I can take these things and apply on my coaching and mentoring as well. So the
mhm,
coaching and mentoring is the same thing as well. As you ask, senior coach or mentor, you will notice that every single individual is like different, coming with a different belief system. And
mhm,
generally, what I like to take a look at it is like their limited belief systems. What are
mhm,
the that's actually truly, as it says, limited belief, limits them to think nothing. So think nothing but blockage,
mhm,
technically speaking, or anything but growth mindset, right? So I don't want to go too jargony on that one, but as we are saying, limited beliefs. The coachee or mentor mentee would be always having this limited belief system that will allow them to not to move forward with whatever they wanted to accomplish.
mhm,
I could find that in the mentoring sessions that we are having,
mhm,
and I will help. I will not say that like, look, Rich, it's right there. There are moments that, of course, I say it because I got so excited when we figure it out. But I will not say that way. But I want the mentee to figure that part out on their own. And once they know it, the smile, the change that you see from this individual is just worth every penny. When you see that
yeah,
person, because that person now become a different person, just like how the CEO change is happening, right? So that's one of the things that like I would be looking as a mentee if I'm a senior mentor that's looking for. I realize that as I was mentioning, I don't have enough time to like serve everyone, so I would actually handpick now whoever I wanted to work with as a coaching client or whatever the case it is. I still try to do my best, provide volunteer mentoring here and there, but ultimately where I'm going with this is, as I mentioned, like with my coach or my mentors, my teachers, whatever you want to call them from the past, one thing that really also settled in with me is never work uh, more than what your clients will want to do for themselves.
mm, 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 mm,
This is hard to take it in, or at least it was for me in the beginning, but then it
mhm,
makes full sense.
mm,
Italian is not willing to work hard to reach the goal. And let's say
mhm,
that, let's give numbers, right? If you're
mhm,
putting 50% effort, why do you expect me as your coach or your mentor to put 75% of an effort? Because you're not even
Yes.
taking it seriously, right? So you got to think from a perspective that how you can actually work with individuals who are not wasting your time, but
Mhm.
if they're also working from the limited mindset, then how can you actually take it out that limited mindset so that they can go with their full potential, and then you can then provide your full potential as well. So I think that will be one of the biggest advices I will give to senior mentors. So when you're choosing someone, depending on you're doing it for a free work or a paid work, I would highly recommend, no matter what it is, even if it's a free work, I'm going to emphasize this, even if you're freely providing your time for someone, it still deserves 100% of the other person's commitment. And these are some of things that you would see also, like we apply this kind of methodology as well, like even in a UXPA kind of an environment, right? Like I manage the volunteers in UXPA, and we've checked this one with data. So when I accept everyone as a volunteer to UXPA,
Mhm.
no payment required. You're saying like you're going to volunteer for us and then you want money from us. Sounds weird, right? Absolutely. But but so our take in here is, as a volunteer, you will have access to all these UX professionals, and then you will be able to have full access to the conference. You will be all fed for the 4 days you will be in there, and then you have a UXPA membership for a year. This is our value proposition, right? And
Yeah.
then on top of that, we are saying that we're going to, once you accept the volunteering in the conference, you don't need to pay any penny. You just come and volunteer. Guess what?
Mm.
They tell me that, Matt, I'm coming. And then in the last minute, they failed and they don't show up.
It happens. Quite happens.
Yeah. Do you know how we fix that problem? We fix that problem with something so simple. If you're applying for volunteer, it's free to apply. And then once I select you as the volunteer, you are going to pay 100 USD, non-refundable, to show your commitment that you're going to show up on the day of the conference will happen.
Mhm.
This is so crucial. If any one of you guys in the audience is actually run a organization like that, where you're collecting lots of money and then trying to arrange the hotel and all that kind of stuff, when someone is actually bailing you on the like 2 weeks before the event, it's so hard to find that person, to match that person with what type of work that they were supposed to do, which is in this case attending the sessions, being sure that sessions are going well, it's being recorded, the speakers is introduced, etc., like that, right? But that's what I'm trying to say. To make them 100% committed, they have to have something in the game as well. So that $100, believe it or not, guys, was actually dropped like almost 90% of um, the flaky people in its own sense, if that makes sense. So when I'm saying that committed, even if you're doing the mentoring for free or with paid work, even if it's free, be sure that they have something in the game as well. Like in ADP list, for instance, when I'm providing my free sessions as well, I actually say it. If you missed the session and if you did not give me a heads up on that one that you couldn't make it, or for whatever the reason, whether it's sickness or anything, we are human being, right? You will not be taken back as a free. You want
Hello. Yeah.
to pay for it, and that's it, right? Like, so like you need to draw your lines as well in a certain way, because remember what I was saying about hiring managers. Rule number one is respect. If you don't respect to yourself, then why would they respect you?
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it with that. But
Yeah.
so those are some of the advices that I will give it to the senior mentors to consider when they're taking the mentees.
That actually helps a lot. Even helps. That actually resonates with me as well. So thank you for that. And I'm coming to an important question, so that
Yeah.
so many designers will, I think, relate to this. Now designers are actually struggling to showcase their work. Actually,
Mhm.
even me and a lot of designers, like, we don't know how, like, what people expect when showcasing. I mean, hiring managers or people expect when we are
Mhm.
showcasing work. So how can designers effectively showcase their work when, let's say, we don't know how recruiters in US or Canada are expecting. So we know how Indian people expect. At the same
Yeah,
time, that I can see there are a lot of people from other countries as well, and from US as well, I think. So they don't know how people in India expect. So
gotcha.
how now, if you can you give us an idea about how generally people in the top tier people are expecting when it comes to designers showcasing their work?
Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. So, a couple of things that comes to my mind right off the bat is like
Mm,
you need to be sure that you're showing your design process, right?
mm,
And these things that I will tell you, and this is this is exactly what we're talking about.
mm,
What makes one job hunter from
mhm,
the other? What
mm,
I'm going to tell you guys, whoever is right now really give 100% of their attention to me and listening to me, what I'm going to tell you right now is nothing different than what you have heard, seen in Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, etc. But the difference is coming from how well you apply that. So if you're not working with a mentor or a coach, you would not be able to implement this as much as well as you would think that you will be able to apply it, because life happens. And remember, the change doesn't happen because we are efficient creatures, and we like to get the reward from now rather than looking for the future. So when you're creating a portfolio, for instance, Kalyan, as you're talking about that one, right? So we try to go after what's in front of us rather than thinking the long term. It's an entire process that you need to think about, what you're going to be putting into your portfolio. So one of the things that we talk about is your design process. How well you're explaining the story behind your designs. What like research method that you have used. What like how did you arrive your solution? Um, how you iterated based on the feedback, right? Uh, like tell us the story of your design journeys in a nutshell, what I'm asking.
mm,
um the other thing is like the impacts or the results when we are talking about it, like when I'm saying stuff in the portfolio, I have increased the sales.
mm,
Okay, but increase the sales to what
mm,
are we talking about? Are we talking about $5 to $10? Are you talking about 200% increase?
mhm,
How did you affect that one? Did your redesign increase any conversion, right? If you're talking about from like, for instance, Best Buy perspective, did
mhm,
your user research uncover any key insights that shifted the product strategy to, the next level, right? Which we did, for instance, when we were looking in Auto Trader, we are looking at the vehicle details page, and then we are looking at this contact form. You can go to autotrader.ca and then you can take a look at it as well. And then when you're scrolling down, we have this contact form moving along on the side as well. And then the way that how Auto Trader will make money is if a dealer would get a lead,
mhm,
then that was one of the way of making the money in 2014 or whatnot. So like 10 years ago, right? And then we were thinking, so what are the other ways that people might want to interact with the dealer in this case, right? So when
mm,
we did the research, people were saying, and when we look at the data as well, what they're submitting as a contact form, people were asking for scheduling a test drive. People were talking about, hey, I have X car. Could you take the X car and then I will buy this Y car from you only $10,000? So we were looking at trade-in as well. So like
mhm,
when I'm putting my work as a portfolio, that's the thing that I should be mentioning, that how my user research uncover a key insight. Okay, those are the other things that people are talking about, and
mhm,
how it shifted the product strategy.
mm,
Now it comes in as a new product or
mhm,
upgrade to monthly subscription, whatever you want to call it,
mhm,
and then increasing the sales, right?
mm,
One of the main reasons why people are not able to look at this part is they say that I don't have the data, like, and I'm like, okay, another limited belief. The moment
yes,
you use the word I don't have the data, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the this and that,
mm,
it's a limited belief. Every time it's a limited belief. Like
mm,
please, if
No,
you got
it's a common thing in India. Whenever we get to the point, whenever people, I think everyone can relate to this in India. They don't look at metrics. Usually, companies don't follow metrics because they're fast paced. They don't work by metrics. So
correct.
but in some companies, we are in my company, we are actually looking at metrics. But in some companies, when they are rapidly prototyping, I'm
Hmm,
talking about only the companies who are rapidly prototyping, not about a lot of companies in India actually are looking at data right now, but I'm talking about who are actually rapidly working. So when they work rapidly, they don't. The first thing they don't have is they don't have the data to
correct.
uh, manipulate or data to come up with solutions. So they come up with assumptions and then they design. So end of the day, when they have to make a case study out of it, they
Mhm.
are struggling. So that is the problem they face.
Yeah, but that's exactly why I'm saying that it's a limited belief itself, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
even if we don't have the data,
mhm,
we still have what we called projected data, right?
mm. Yes.
So you can still take it. So I'll make it very easy for you.
Mm,
In Best Buy, if you go into the Best Buy's website, when you're looking for, let's say, Samsung TV, 40
mhm,
inch TV, right? So you type Samsung TV and then it comes out and it says model ABC. Let's call it model
mm.
ABC. And then it says 40-inch. Uh, there's a message came in,
Yeah,
but
I think
yeah.
they started to post questions. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So so let's say that the ABC model you're looking for, and then in the search criteria you can see that 40-inch ABC model,
Hmm.
44-inch ABC model, 50-inch ABC model, and they're all over the place in the search. So you need to read each one of them and then figure out, okay, this is the 40-inch of the ABC model, this is the 50-inch of ABC model, and that one is the 60-inch of ABC model. Then this one says 700, this one says 600, that one says 650. And now, like, your brain is so overloaded, right, with the cognitive overload.
Mm,
Um, then you're wondering, okay, how could I improve this interface? And I've
mm,
done this one as well in the Best Buy. So when you go into the Best Buy's uh, product detail page,
mhm,
now you see the ABC model, and then as
mhm,
you scroll down, just before add to cart, you will see 40-inch, 42-inch, 45-inch, and right underneath them there is a price. It says 600, 550, 700, and then
mhm,
1,200.
mhm,
And then the user starts seeing that, okay, so I go 5-inch higher and then I can actually pay less. So when
mhm,
you see that one, people actually click on that one. But
mhm,
what we are doing in here is, when we are looking at the data, they were going with the high, they were buying almost like $100 to $150 more than what
mhm,
they had as a budget,
mhm.
because they were able to compare much easily. So it's a great
Mm.
UX being provided to them. It's good for
Yeah.
the business as well. The business could have lose $50 and then the
Mhm,
user could have get a higher TV. But think
mhm,
about the consequences of it as well. Then the user figured out later that we give a discount, and then they take the TV again, put it into the box, refund it, and then take the new TV, etc. Right? You're saving so much money and time as well.
yes, absolutely.
All these are inverts. So I'm still going with what you asked me. So I don't have a data yet, right? But
Mm,
I tested this one with 10 people, and out of
mm,
10 people, you will see that 6 of them will say that I'm going to buy the higher resolution TV. Okay, and then I
mm,
ask why, because the difference is minimal, like $100 more than what I put as a budget in my mind, and I think it's
mm,
worth to go from 40-inch to 60-inch because 20-inch will make a big difference. Great.
mm,
Now you have that data. So what you
mhm,
can say is, you can say that the 40-inch was like $500,
mhm.
60-inch is now $600. So you increase $100 in revenue, right? And
Yes.
if you know, and you may not know it, that's fine as well. Roughly how much percentage of TVs has been purchased.
Mhm.
Even if you don't know now, you have beautiful chat GPT, right? Just ask,
Yeah.
how much is being sold, per year in a, you don't even need to give the brand name like Best Buy or anything like that. Just say, any electronic company or whatever it is. It will spit out a number. And then all you need to say is at the end, I was able to increase the profits this much according to the data that I have found, blah, 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 blah. So you're not saying anything lie. You're just saying that you're also saying that it's a projected data because you don't have the right data. And if they ask though, this is the key point for anyone who's listening, intently. This is the key point. For if they ask you, you should be able to explain this exactly how I just shared with you. I asked 10 users, this is what 6 of them said. Then I made the calculation on here, and this is my projected, profit is how I would show it. So that will be one of the things that, you will be able to show it even if you don't have the data.
That's so much helpful.
Great.
I think you will be starting to see what you said in LinkedIn from now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the problem, right? Like, this is why I keep saying that everyone has a limited belief. Like, I don't have the data, I don't have the designs. Well, you don't have the designs, okay, fine. That one is a little bit different situation because you cannot go back in time to find it, especially if it's an HR software or anything like that. But if you have anyone in the company, you can ask them. There are always someone who stays in the company for 10 years and somehow they have the designs.
Absolutely.
So you can always reach out those individuals as well to get that information. If it was done in 5-8 years ago, like I can right now go back to AutoTrader and then ask some of the information. They will not be even relevant, right, anymore. But if they would have the data, I mean, I don't see why not they won't share it with me at the moment, because it's really irrelevant right now in the current market 10 years later, right? Like that kind of stuff. So
yes, that really helps. You also touched my last question, and we have a few questions as well. One is a personal question, and one is the final question that I wanted to ask, and that is one important question. So the AI wave is hitting hard in India right now, right? So for designers, UX is more accessible now, and we can have as much as data we want. We can do primary research, secondary research. I mean, we can do primary research, but we can technically do secondary research. So, but at the same time, people are in fear. They are thinking that their job is at stake. It's on the news now. So a lot of people are thinking their job is at stake now. So do you think people are evolving there? I mean, at Canada or US or in other places that we went, or making an AI daily driver. So AI is my daily driver right now. I use AI every day. So I don't know about people near your circle and how you use it, and I just want to touch that area.
So I think the sentiment in India is same as in all over the world as well. At least that's my 2 cents whenever I'm talking with any of the people in, globally, lack of a better word speaking. So there is like this mix of optimism and then mix of concern that's happening. And the optimism part is like the capabilities that we have right now, right? Just like, remember what I was saying about like we can't change because we are efficient creatures. Like we try to make everything efficient, right? So like now, thanks to AI, if we have these repetitive tasks, you can just put those things into AI to handle it, right? Myself speaking as well, like when I'm writing any email, I would like to go back to AI to see if there's anything that I can improve or I can change, right? If that AI is actually implemented onto the like a Gmail or a Hotmail itself, it's even golden. At the moment, I haven't experienced that one. Maybe I need to purchase something or I need to turn on something, but like those are the kind of things that will be actually start happening, right? When you think about like the accessibility of the tools itself, right? When you're looking at like from the design perspective anyway, like you guys seen what Figma's auto layout features can do right now, right? So it gives you this opportunity of people who are not technical can actually do stuff. That doesn't mean that they're going to be as good as Kalyan or any UX designers or whatever the case it is, because they don't know the design thinking process, etc. Yes, AI is applying certain indications on that one, but like it will be something like this in my junior times, right? Like when my manager was asking me, so like, Matt, why did you use the radio buttons in here instead of using the multi-select? And I'm like saying, interesting, I guess I could have used the multi-select in here, so it doesn't need the radio button like either or, right? So that's kind of like what's going to still happen anyway. Just because AI is spitting out the design, it doesn't mean that the product manager who created it or engineer who created it have an idea of why AI spit that one out the same way, right? But needless to say that it is going to help people who are not expertise on certain things. So that's the positive side of it again as well. Like when you're thinking about again using certain tools, automation especially, those are again another things that where you will be using the AI mainly, right? And then when it comes to like the fear of like losing the job kind of perspective, what that I think people are not able to capture is this always existed. Just think about it for a moment. There's a cameraman sitting in the edge of the helicopter and then holding the camera in here while the helicopter is going crazy, and then the fast driving car James Bond movie is being recorded. The guy is actually recording the event, right? And he has one take to do this one, and sometimes it's not one take, it has to be multiple takes because the wind comes in, some problem happened. That guy was charging them for 10 minutes, I don't know, $20,000. Now
That is
you are using DJI drone.
yes.
And you're telling that this is the subject that you need to follow, and you need to follow.
Yeah, you don't even have to pull the trigger. Yes.
So it always existed. It's just what you are doing. Is it becoming irrelevant to the media? Is different thing. Did you guys know that in the past, I sound like one of those YouTube shows now, that there were people who were actually turning on the light on the streets. They were actually have these sticks, you can search it, and then they have a fire on the end of it, and then they reach out and then they turn on the candles with fire, and then they turn it off that way as well. There was a job who was actually a person doing that. With electricity came in, that job lost right away, right?
Yeah.
It didn't apply right away. It actually changed slowly the cities, right? Maybe it started on some big city in New York, but then it slowly carried the entire US, and ultimately everything was shifted. What I'm trying to say is AI is just no different than the same thing as well. But this time it feels so unreal that because it's touching the tech side of the stuff.
Yeah.
And that is actually what makes people, like afraid and scared of it, because now I can be replaced very easily, right?
Yes. Yes.
Job uncertainty is actually coming from that. But here's the thing. Before, you were hiring 100 developers to, write the code. Now you only need 5 people who understand that code and who can communicate to the AI that this is the prompt that you need to use. This is how to change you so that you can actually spit out the right coding, etc. So the question for you is, how could you be one of those 5 developers?
Yes.
And that itself, my friend, is exactly what you need to go through right now, which is change. You need to teach yourself how you can actually learn this. How are you using, certain things that's being implemented, right? Are you actually using the Chat GPT only, or are you truly understanding, how is the LLM, machine ML, all those things are how it's working, right? Do you understand what large language models is actually telling to the machine learning, and how AI makes meaning of it, and then how it spits it out? Are we able to implement some of those things to our own tools? Mark my words, most of the people will actually stay on the Chat GPT side. They will wait and receive okay, I'm going to use this AI person, AI object, whatever that thing is. But the people who are going to be creating their own AI bots, they will learn how to create the the server and the system and all that kind of stuff. I think those will be the new business people of the
Mm,
future, is how I see it. But
mm,
it doesn't mean that you will lose your job. Like, there is always that part. There is a reason why we have tellers in the bank still in North America, because people
yeah.
are lonely and feeling sad, right? uh,
Mhm.
like, when you think about it, you know you're looking at from the perspective of the connection. So the AI will ultimately not be able to provide that connection you're looking for unless they can figure out the consciousness side of it, right? That's a different story to talk about. But so what I would mainly say is, when I'm doing the UX designs,
Mhm.
instead of creating an error message, try to figure
Mhm.
out a way to fix the error in the first place, so you never need to put the error message. So it's the
Yes.
same question for you as well. What is that makes you scared of losing your job, that you think that AI can replace you? So figure that part out,
Good.
and
Yeah.
then be the master of the AI, right? Rather than
Yeah.
being slave of the AI. So it sounds simple, but you have to think about
Absolutely makes
that,
sense.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thank you for that. It was very insightful. And this is my last question. So
yeah.
that with that we can wrap up this at the same, and we can go to audience's questions.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Perfect.
let's talk about UX was here,
Hmm.
how it started, and what it is addressing. And I would like to know about that, and people like to know about that.
Yeah. Of course.
What is UX was here, and yeah.
So the UX was here was a personal project of mine. So I was working on a, what do you call that, in a big company, and then there was this massive area where you can actually eat your food, etc. Let's call it cafeteria. And in that cafeteria, people were not able to order their food. It's a very small location, or the where you're ordering your food. uh there's so many stuff that you can do. Like, there's this side you can get your soup, this side you can get your salad, that side you can order for a toast, this one is special deal or for the day. And then the left hand side, getting your barbecued stuff, or whatever the case it is. And then this is on the left. And then each time people were actually going in, they were getting really stressed about this.
Mm,
And then so each time I'm sitting down in the lunchtime and I'm having my food and talking with friends, people are complaining about it. And then I start realizing that I start complaining with them as well. And I'm like, hold on a second, like, I'm a UX person. Like, I'm literally a problem solver, so I can actually fix this problem. So
mhm,
at the end of the day, I left my chair and then go for the stationery and then figure out what I can use from the stationery. I got some masking tapes,
mhm,
and then some paper, some writing, uh, and then ultimately what I've done is I start creating these pathways,
mhm,
and then I moved on to putting a note in there saying that, instead of put my name on it, that I'm doing this experiment, I said UX was here, to just
mhm,
to let them know that there was a UX person, just help them out, and then make them see that there is something that can be fixed like this. And then ultimately, in the morning when I come back, I see that people were using it, they were happier, things were much more organized, in order, whatever you want to call it. And then and that's kind of like how the name of the UX was here actually came up. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to build a community of people who have that mindset that hey, I'm a UX and I can fix this.
mm,
uh, I mainly look for individuals in that community who are like go-getters again. Like, for instance, if you're working for a company like Uber Eats, DoorDash, I don't want you to be only the IT person. I want you to be the driver as well, to understand the driver's perspective on what kind of problems they're going through, right? So
mm,
that is a UX was here individual mindset, is how I was seeing it. So I wanted to build a community who has that type of mindset, not the person who wants to move into UX field because UXers can make more money, or
mm.
different reasons, etc. like that. I
Yeah.
want true UX designers. And this is
Mm,
something actually, when you were talking about portfolio pieces as well,
mm,
these side projects are also very important. As a
mm,
matter of one of the one time, I got actually a job in corporate world because of UX was here project.
Okay.
As crazy as it sounds. So sometimes people are thinking, again, limited mindset, right? Well, I don't have any work experience. That's why I'm asking you, do you have any projects that you completed as well? And
Mm,
how much change that project actually made in people's life, right? So
yes.
was here is actually one of those ones. What could be a better person to hire than a person who gives freely his time to fix a problem in the corporate world, and then ultimately, delivers a solution and then captures the data afterwards as well, and then move forward, right? So
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah, that really helps. Thanks, Matt, for answering all these questions. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and sorry for taking much more time than 10. It's been 20 minutes more since.
That's
Uh,
all good. That's all good. Yeah. If there's
yeah,
any other questions, let me know. We can wrap it up 10 o'clock
yeah.
my time. Not a big deal as long as others are okay to, ask
Yes, yes,
questions.
yes.
Yeah.
We have a few questions in the messages, and if
Okay.
users want to ask questions, they can ask. And I'm going to read the first question here. So Mozam Matu asked how to improve product thinking and UX if my company only focuses on UI design without UX research, wireframes, etc., information
Mhm.
architecture, etc. He asked.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a very common question, especially when we do not have a design or the UX maturity in the company.
Mhm.
Sadly, these would be very common questions that will be coming in that type of companies. They are looking for, profit. They want to turn things around, etc. So the way that, how you will reach out to that one is, if possible anyway, you would be showing them the data again. And how you do that one is, remember they were going with the UI, right? And then they really like this UI. But that liked UI may not be the ideal UX, if that makes sense, right? Does it make sense, first of all? Because if that doesn't make sense, then the conversation will be off. But hopefully that makes sense. So just because visual is looking good, it doesn't mean that it's good in the UX side of the stuff as well, right? So if the designer can show that this is actually much usable, where people are less frustrated, easy to reach that certain location, etc., 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 then you could actually bring this one as a slide deck to, higher level, and then indicate and show with the data, with the real users, and this is how I would have actually changed the design, and this is why we should change the design this way. And this, then you can also add this one. And this was just showing through the visuals. So imagine if it was implemented and we were charging, let's say, $5 more for the customer or something like that. And then again, see, you use your projection mindset, use ChatGPT to, spit out the data table for you. And then just say that, like you would be making this much money within, like this much months. So that's how I would actually go after. Note that there's a couple of things that's actually going to happen in this case. One, if you're really working with smart individuals, also plus who has an empty cup, little bit of an empty cup, to take, advice from, lack of a better word, lower level, right? If those guys are a higher level, whatever you want to call it, then you will see the change will be happening. And if they're not that way, then the second part will be happening on what I'm saying, which is business has to deliver certain things, and this is not a priority at the moment. Yes, it might make $5 more, but if the goal of um, product delivery is, selling more cars, then they won't be focusing on trade in the contact form, whether we actually send people, more contacts. Do you know what I mean? Because that's only going to bring 100,000 a year. When they're changing, this entire structure, that's going to bring $2 million, right? So it's not that they ignore you, they're just, yours is not a priority. It's as simple as that.
Mhm.
And then the last one, and hopefully that's not the case, you're working with individuals who are absolutely not care about, what I don't want to call it lower level, but if you're calling higher level, it the opposite comes as a lower level. They, when the higher level is really arrogant or they know it all kind of type of people, then no matter what you do, if it doesn't work out, that means that that's a great indication for you that just put a goal that in 3 months you have to change your job. And I know
Mm.
it's hard in the market and all that kind of stuff, or you're going to be okay to live with what you don't like having with these individuals as a conversation, right? So
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
just telling the. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. I think. Yeah. You
Mhm.
answered.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
I think Usam is. I don't think I think he's listening. If he is listening, I think he'd be satisfied.
Yeah, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. We have two questions.
Yeah.
Comments, and one is Alex Lee mentioned excellent talk, Matt. You mentioned your early experience in getting into UX with an internship. So, do you have any tips on how people starting in UX can best maximize or sell their early work experiences when they are applying for future or lead positions?
Okay, that's a great question, Alex, and thanks for your kindness as well. Um, Everything that I talk about in this talk, I'm going to now like kind of again mention all of them into one item, and this is why I love Alex's question so much. Remember the individuals that I was hiring. Remember why I was trying to change the culture. Remember, my journey. So when you combine all of them together, this is the answer to what Alex is asking. If
Yeah.
you can figure it out, that limited mindset that you have, that you don't have the examples even though you do have them, but you feel like you do not,
Mm.
what you would do is you would take a look at what you have delivered as projects, and then you're going to figure it out, what are some of these projects that actually make sense that I can actually use. And then there will be times that you will be finding out some of them that is good, some of them are not. UX was here. I've never thought that that would have been actually allowing me to get hired for the next role. So there will be still cases like that for you as well that you won't even know. So you never know what you don't know. So for that purpose, you might want to showcase your projects. And if you're doing that one in a website kind of environment, allow them to easily find it with using the labels, categories, whatever you want to call it. That's number one. Let's say that we put all of those things out, and then let's go back to the part that well, I just graduated and I have nothing to show, Matt. That's fine. So we look at the projects, school projects, you cannot use any of them. That's fine. Then what could you deliver at the moment as a showcase product? You could actually work on a project on your own. That could be as simple as um, your inspirational project where you wanted to recreate the McDonald's app or whatever the case it is, right? Or in India, Domino's was very famous in 2008. I'm sure that they are now running the pizza businesses in there. So let's say the Domino's is, new mobile app or all that kind of stuff. Now you will be asking the next question saying that, well, Matt, but they wanted to see a work experience. Yeah, you're right. That's great as well. So why don't we go into library or a coffee shop um, or even a small business on the street that is small enough but not so small that they can't pay you or work with you. All you
Mm.
tell them is, hey, I take a look at your website, I'm a user experience designer, and there are a couple of things that we can change in this website that will make your website much easier to use. Your clients will be happy. You will be able to they will be able to easily order it. And didn't you have enough with paying these carrier fees and all that kind of stuff to Uber Eats and all that kind of stuff? And I can actually help you find the right contacts to even build a website for you, something like that. And the thing is, what I just exactly said, would everyone will say that, well, I knew about that one, or
Mm.
someone will say that I did that one and it didn't work. The question goes back again, the same thing as well. How committed are you?
Yeah.
Did you try 100 times, or did you try 3 times and then you get no to 3 times and then you just give up? So that's the question. And I mean this on the bottom of my heart, because when I come back from India, I meant what I said. I
Mm.
open up my own agency and I start working for small businesses. I go in to a pizza shop that has an absolutely awful website. It was not made. You can actually find these are so easily nowadays. You go to
Yes,
pizza
yes, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And and you need to have a little bit of a sales skill as well. But for seriously speaking, for food industry, you don't even need to have a
Mm,
sales skill. You will just something like this. Look at Domino's Pizza in here, sir. Just Pizza House in
mm,
here. When you look at both of them, which one is mouth watering for you? And then he will say, this one, of
mm,
course. All right.
yeah.
And then you'll be saying that, okay, when we're going to make the order, which one do you think that they will be able to easily order?
Mm,
This one.
yeah.
Oh, sir, what if I tell you that you can create something like this as low as 250 bucks? I'm just making up the number. I have no idea. Right?
Yeah.
Point is, if you did not have any experience,
Mm,
you have to, of course, have the confidence of speaking it, right? And then you can work on that one as well. Just
yes.
keep practicing, right? Just like a presentation. But ultimately, when you do this enough, after 100 door knocking, the next one would be ultimately, will be your clients. And
Yeah.
now, not only you're making money, which you're getting your earning from
Mhm,
what you love doing, but also you have a project that you can actually showcase as well. That's how I built my own career entirely,
mm,
because in Canada there was no UX. So I was building web designs, and thanks
mhm,
to my India connections, the content management systems were created with the PHP developer in India. And then, like he was building the back end of it, and I was giving the front end side of the stuff and doing the research on this part and managing the clients, problems, all that kind of stuff as well. I was literally a businessman. And then when I finished, not finished, sorry, when I was going through with this one, I said like I gotta move. I wanna see, how the corporates are doing this one, because I feel like, I'm stuck in this, not non-growing zone, like you're going in and then you kind of like hit the plateau, right?
mm,
That was the part. I said, like, I don't have any experience. And then one day, like a light bulb came in, and I said, like, I don't have any experience. That is the worst limited belief you could ever say. I've done all these projects. It's a matter of selling the idea that, I've done this project as a UX designer, as a project manager, as a product manager, right? So when you're now getting met, you're getting three people in one deal. And again, it's becoming a sales part, right? So that's the kind of an idea. So Alex, going back to your question, that's what I was just saying, that, once you get into the UX side of the stuff, you just need to keep practice it. And I said this one in the last time on an ADP list talk as well. Like the
mhm,
current individuals in the design, um, you guys are amazing with Figma. So when I'm doing, for 15 years UX, in my last 5 to 7 years, I've been, managing teams, etc. I could never be as efficient as you are in Figma right now, because you're constantly practicing it.
mm, mm,
So you, with your limited mindset, thinking that if Matt applies the same job as I applied, Matt will get it. No, Matt will not get it. It's two different, end game that we're playing in here, and you guys don't see that one. So your limited belief, I keep focusing on that one, and that's why I want you to guys get this. Your limited belief is what's holding you down. And I'm not saying that because I'm in, living in Canada compared to India and all that kind of stuff. As I said, I lived in India as well. I've seen people who work
mm,
so hard to reach, what they're looking for. You guys are all hardworking individuals. It's just sometimes, unfortunately, opportunity is not coming as quickly as we expect, but
mm,
that, make you give up on what you're really looking forward to achieve right at the end. That's why I said that the commitment has to be so strong that,
yeah.
you will ultimately get it. And this is another thing that I even tell to my clients as well. Why are you looking so much to work for a corporation when you can actually run your own design agency? Just think about it for a moment. Like
Mm,
right now with a framer, like go to the framer template and you can find beautiful restaurant, templates for 29 bucks or something like
absolutely.
that.
Yes.
Like it's mind blowing. You have already the animation is in there too. All you need to do is update the content. Go to the Chat GPT free version and then get the content from there. You don't
Yeah.
have the pictures. Go there and then tell them that, for another 3,000 rupees, I'm going to take the pictures and I'm going to give you my half of your day or something like that, right? Whatever it is, but make it happen. And then you reach to a level that at some point that, you will say that, okay, guys, I'm actually increasing my price. And so when I do that one, you're going to lose customers, right? Because you just open up your, wings, and now you're actually able to fly. And so you don't want those customers anymore. You're not burning any bridges. They just cannot afford you anymore because you're actually in the new level of customers you're looking for, who can pay you, who can have your subscription, all that kind of stuff, right? But that's how you progress slowly, get steadily. I hope that answered. I'm sorry I took time on that one, but I think
That
that's
absolutely answers. Yes,
well,
yes.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Matt. And we have one last question from Sham Krishnan. So that comes to the end of it, and it's how does that it start like this? How does one set up proactive product strategy culture that build on problem discovery rather than team coming up with internal ideas and adding it to the product roadmap?
Let me see. How does one set up proactive, or how one sets up a proactive product strategy culture, coming up with internal ideas and adding it to the product roadmap? That's a great question. That's actually, frankly speaking, I can give you my opinion on that one, but that's more like a product question. But if I would switch that to UX strategy culture, and that build on problem discovery rather than the team coming up with internal ideas and adding it to the product roadmap. So the way that how I function in anytime, whatever the part that I'm working on, I tend to look for, any ideas, frankly speaking. So I would actually allow every ideas to be heard, but I would make a very clear disclaimer that just because just I say to, my parents as well, I say the same thing in this case as well. Mom, dad, you can give me your suggestion on what I should do, but please don't get offended if I don't follow it through. But know that I am going to seriously consider what you're telling me that I should do. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of a case, right? You're still getting the internal ideas added. So you're still hearing the individual. And then ultimately, you're still going to be applying what you're going to do at the end anyway. And if that idea is actually somewhat level aligning with what they're saying, then I would of course take that one in, or I will add that one as a dependency onto the main product strategy as well. Does that answer the question though?
Yeah. I mean, thanks, Matt, for answering the
yeah.
so late at night. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I resonate with. My current company is like, they are a bit more open to, being the product node back being built on top of customer needs. But there is always this thing that, we have it's a marketing product, and marketers are there, so they have their opinion, right? So that's something that we are trying to, as a design team, we are trying to
Gotcha.
put forward, right? So that helps. Yeah.
So remember, whenever someone wants to share any opinion or anything with you, all they wanted to do is to be heard. That's all. They just wanted to be heard, right? So you need to be politely saying that I'm more than happy to listen to you, and I'm going to capture these things as well. If you have the time, of course, right? I'll capture these things as well. I can't promise you that these are going to be applied on the product strategy, but thank you so much, for providing your time and, your thoughts on this. And then, I'm going to take it in and I'm going to apply, how I want to apply. Of course, depending on your level as well, on, what to say and what not to say, that's going to make a difference. But ultimately, I've never seen anyone having a problem by listening someone and someone's idea, right? All you need to do is just capture them and then put them in a backlog. And then, when the time comes in, you never know that, how that will actually turn into an maybe successful feature in the future or product in the future, right? So
yeah.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Of course, anytime, guys. Yeah.
Guys, do you have any questions, or we can wrap up? So yeah, I think everyone is okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear that one.
So yeah, let's. I think I'm just making sure. Yeah, I just let's just wrap up, Matt. Thank you so much, Matt, for
anytime,
spending
yeah.
this amount of time. And behalf of clan, our team,
Mhm.
we are very thankful for you to have you here.
Of
And
course, yeah, my
yeah,
pleasure.
thank you so much. You answered all of those questions very calmly, and you are that's so kind of you.
Thank you. No, it's absolutely my pleasure. I see India as my second home. So, and it's a pleasure to serve you guys as well. If
Thank
you
you.
guys
Thank you.
need me, if you're not connected in LinkedIn, please do connect.
Yeah, please
Uh,
do.
you know, you can go if this QR code is working properly. You can just connect from there as well. There's an ADP list mentoring going on as well in there too. If you wanted to go for free mentoring, it's all that kind of stuff. So at least I can answer a couple of your questions and whatnot. But yeah, I'm here for you to help out. Colin, if you guys need anything in the future as well, I'm here to support you guys as well.
Thank
Community
you.
is a really important thing. So thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing. Like the
Yeah.
entire
Soon,
clan.
clan will be coming to Canada.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, we can run an event through you
Yeah.
guys, right? Like with your partnership kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. And
Happy Sunday, guys.
yeah,
I think it's Monday for you, right? Or Sunday still?
yeah. Chalo.
I is it Sunday or Monday for you?
For me, Saturday at night
Saturday.
time.
Okay, then it's happy Sunday.
Yes, Sunday will be coming soon. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.